Hello, everyone. Welcome back to TCS. So I get to interview the interviewer today. This is Marci. She is, I assume that you've been watching all the interviews, and if you haven't, go back and watch them. And she's a wonderful interviewer, and I was not going to let her get away with not getting interviewed herself. So we're going to do that today. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, do all of that stuff. Yes. Yes, please. It really helps our channel and it lets us know that you're engaged and you like our content. And please comment.
Yes.
Feel free to ask questions
Yep.
in the comments, whatever that is. And we'll, or suggestions. Suggestions from Marci for new interviews or people to interview or direction to go in. Just give us your suggestions. Doesn't mean we're going to use them all, but
Yeah.
you might get some good ones.
Yeah. All across the board.
Right.
Questions for me, people to interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
absolutely. It'll be
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started, shall we? The first question I'd like to ask you is, and I might already kind of know this, but well, no, I'm going to take a step back and ask something else. How long have you been with TCS?
As a student, I want to say I started in 2022, I believe, as a student of Mary Lynn's, right? So I believe you did my consultation as
Mhm.
usual. And then um, I was I was so new
Yes.
and so eager to get started healing and all of that, but it was very obvious that I needed healing and some all of that.
We
So
all do. We
I went straight
all,
to Mary Lynn. Yep, and I was with Mary Lynn for up until I want to say about a year ago, and then I moved over to classes with you. Yeah. So
so when you first started, you were just really kind of starting that you didn't know you wanted to develop, or did you at first? Because
not really. So I assume most people are, they want someone else to tell them, like, okay, what can I do? What am I good at? What should, all of that stuff. So I was looking for someone to tell me everything about me and why I'm so special and what kind of gifts do I have and who are my clients. And very quickly, you guys were like, no, that's not really how we do things here.
no,
That's not going to help you at all.
no,
Uh, so, and once I learned, truly learned and absorbed that being a good healer requires on so many levels for me to do my own healing.
yes.
And once I knew that that was going to unlock the quality of healing, that's just what I had to do. Like there was no like, oh, I'll just go talk to someone else who will tell me I can start healing tomorrow. It's like,
Right,
no,
right, right. Just
this,
just want to develop. I don't want any of that healing crap. Yeah,
yeah, no, I was like, okay, this is
yeah,
it's all, I want to help the people. To help the people, that's you got to do the work.
absolutely.
And
You have
it just made sense.
to. Mhm.
And resonating was also probably one of the first things I learned through
Yes,
through that. Yeah. Like what does it mean for something to resonate? Which
yes.
is not something in my wheelhouse. I don't
Mhm.
it baffles me that I never like considered what do I feel is true?
Right.
Never had I asked myself that and then trusted that, moving forward.
Was
So
there a piece in all that that was the hardest for you? Like, is there a piece that you're still like constantly have to revisit and work on in this sort of the spiritual journey? Because it's all part of the journey, whether you're developing or whatever, you are we teach that you're on the journey and you're moving through life and you're bringing them the pieces together.
The hardest, the hardest thing for me still is to, and I hope I explain this right, get out of my head
Ah,
and express what it is, whether it's writing or talking about. Because it, like, being honest with yourself in your head is one thing.
yes, and
But then when you go to speak, you're like, oh, I've just been patient. And it's like, nope.
yes,
Like, you don't feel like you're saying the wrong word until you say it, right?
yes,
And I
yes.
find myself like when I call you or Mary Lynn for help, and I'm like, I'm stuck. I don't know. I've been so patient. No, I haven't. And it's like,
I
oh,
need to be honest first.
yes, being honest with yourself, it's really hard if you don't
Yes,
say it out loud.
yes.
Like it's a lot easier to bypass if you keep it in your
And
head.
but spirit's still telling you that's not the truth.
Yeah.
But we can ignore that little voice. Ignoring
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yep. I tell myself I'm just being patient in my head and I'm like, yep, that's it. And then but as soon as I say it out loud, that's usually it's easier to hear or to feel source or spirit, whatever.
Whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's all the
Yeah.
same. It's just
Um,
whatever verbiage.
yeah,
Well,
it's easier.
certainly Mary Lynn and I have talked about this. I don't think we've ever said it to you. So here it goes. You are probably the hardest working student that we've ever had.
Oh,
You really like we have watched you get thrown down the stairs. We've watched you get triggered. We've watched you up and down. The normal things that happen to us when we commit to this journey, we have watched you and you've stayed. You haven't run. There have been a couple times I remember, okay, I'm squealing, but Mary Lynn would say, "Oh, she's not coming back after this one." And sure enough, the next week, there you were.
yeah.
And we knew a long time ago, we were like, okay, she's a TCSer. Like she's gonna be around a while because we watched you woof.
No, I can recall a couple of sessions where I'm like, Marilyn, why am I even here?
Yeah.
Like, what am I even doing? Do I
And that
even
is, oh,
and I know it's normal now, but
yes,
at the
yes,
time it's just like what
absolutely. Yeah.
you're
And
ready.
we've been there. And
Yeah.
and truly, when a student comes to us and says that, inside we're like, yeah,
No, I know she was so happy, which didn't help me at all. But she was just like, "Oh, this is exciting," and all that. I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
This is great, that wasn't on the same wavelength at all. But yes, I get it.
yeah.
But the full cycle, I would hope I can say I've hit the lowest of the low. Just you
You'll
know,
find out.
I mean, I will find out. I mean, and I'm not trying to trigger any listeners, but to question
Mhm.
why you're even here, to
Yes.
question distance, to get down that low to where
Yes.
you're like, you know what, if I don't wake up,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, like that's a rough place to be. And then to just
Oh,
180, right? And then now I'm ready to sign up for 90 more lifetimes. And I'm like, come on, you just break,
right. Yes.
so to
Right.
have both
Yes.
of those, like it's insane. It's hard to put it into words
Yeah.
how that happened even. But yeah, you do the process, you do the
Yeah.
cycle,
And
and
there's no other way to do it. I'm sorry, but there isn't. There really isn't. And there have been people I know well, I'll ask you if you've met them, but people who have been in this profession for a very long time, and we just call them unhealed healers. It's like, okay, so that person's been doing it for 30 years, but they're so unhealed.
yeah.
You go to psychics or mediums or healers or anything prior to TCS? Like what, and did you have that sort of, did you see the difference? You just saw us and you went, oh, wow, this. I really like these ladies. Or how did you come to TCS? And
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, so not a ton of experience with mediums. I
Mhm.
had readings.
Mhm.
I had friends that had readings. I mean, before I really understood like when something resonates,
Mhm.
it's hard to go to psychics because you either take all of what they say
Yes.
or nothing, right? Like I'm not one of those people that kind of like, well, like, oh, the one thing she said is true, and it was
Right,
just
right. When it comes to a psychic. Yeah, 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 yeah.
either know what you're talking about and you give me validation or everything is BS. Like
Right,
that.
right. Yes.
Um, but now, I mean, now I can just watch a reading for anyone and I can take what resonates with me and use it and apply it to myself. And the reading doesn't have to be for me at all.
Right,
So,
like those general, like if you watch a
yeah,
reading on, right, that you kind
like,
of have to take what fits and leave the rest because they're so general.
right.
Yeah.
But
But
like,
when it's a
I'm okay with
one-on-one,
taking one again. I just get a reading whenever you want if you know how to do that, right?
yes,
So,
yes.
um, but how I got to TCS was actually through. Oh, you're not gonna like this. Okay.
Oh,
So I used to live in Las Vegas, right?
okay.
In Vegas, there's the Zach Bagans Museum
Uh-huh.
of Haunted, right? And as like I think it was just a work trip that we actually like for fun went and
Sure.
did the museum thing. And before we went, I was looking on YouTube just for like some of the stories behind the haunted things or whatever, just to kind of get myself psyched up. And I had come across two different psychics that were looking into the museum and they had their own opinions about what was really going on there and all that stuff. And that just kind of stayed in my head going through the museum. I was sort of kind of connecting to some of the things there and it was interesting. And from that point on, I watched their content and I joined a Discord group for them. In that Discord group, people were promoting your content.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm not going to name names because
Nope.
eventually you guys did a video on the original two psychics that brought me.
Oh,
So and it didn't go so well.
no, it did not. I know who you're talking about now. Yes.
Um, But yeah, so they had shared your content. So I was like, oh, this was the first community that I had really kind of joined with this mindset. And
Sure.
so I was all kinds of curious. It was right towards the beginning of COVID, I want to say. So I had a lot of time to kind of binge.
Didn't we all during that time?
Yeah. So came across yours. I don't know exactly which video. It wasn't a paranormal one though. It was more of a spiritual talk.
Oh, okay.
Um, and you guys talked about, having students and what that looks like. And then I was like, interesting, like becoming a student. That sounds interesting. Then I went to the website to see what that looks like. And for about a week, I was thinking about it and I was like, I'm just going to reach out, whether they want a consultation with me or not. What's
Doesn't
the
hurt to reach out.
Yeah. And of course, I was like, they're going to tell me who my spirit guides are. They're going to tell me, all this stuff. It was, yeah, I had a different plan.
Sure. As many people do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's
That's how you came around. All
how
right.
I found TCS and binged your content.
And there's a lot when we put something out. Yeah, you can tell them we've come a long way. When Marilyn and I, as you know, started, we were so raw. We're older. We don't know like computers and whatever. And yeah, we've come a long way. But
It
the
didn't
content
matter.
is
It was,
still the same. We knew the content really well.
yeah,
Just, you know,
yeah. I didn't need anything flashy. The content is what
Mhm.
kept me for sure, kept my ear open.
And just so everyone knows, or let me ask you it, have you found, let me see, have you found your spirit guides? Have you found what you're looking for? And how is that different from when what you thought you wanted to now? I think we've touched on that a little bit, but um,
Yeah.
and what would you say to people who want to know all that?
So yes, short answer, yes. I have found everything I originally was looking
Good.
for.
But you found it on your own,
I
and not
found it, yeah.
which
I
is
found
way more
it,
meaningful.
yeah. I learned how to look in and listen and trust. And
Whew.
through that, you start to get introduced to your guides and your teams. And when it comes to, gifts is just to use the word gifts, but when it comes to my gifts, and and this is something that's ongoing. I feel
Yep.
like I'm kind of in this phase right now, where in the beginning, I'm aware of a certain, like, okay, there's mediumship, okay, there's tarot reading. Like, there's kind of a checklist of things that I'm aware of, gifts that
Okay.
I know people have. And in the beginning, I had limited myself to just those.
Yes.
Right? Okay, then I can either be a medium, I can either be a tarot reader, I can either be this, very black and white.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm starting to kind of learn that I had wanted those so bad, and because I knew what they looked like,
Yes. Yes.
and my journey
Or you
has been
thought you did.
a lot about control, right? And there's safety there. I don't have to find my own way. I don't have to, all of that.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm learning that my gifts are truly mine. And
Yes.
I have to just wipe the slate of everything that I know and just go, right?
Yes.
Which for
Yes.
me is a lot in like the dream realm,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
that
Yes.
kind of stuff. And like I don't really have a lot, TCS, we don't have a lot of we don't have lucid dreamers for me to kind of
Nope.
team up with. I don't know what that's going to look like, and I think there's a purpose there.
I absolutely do too. Yes. Yes. Maybe
Fortunately, yeah.
a class,
Yeah, I don't,
maybe a
yeah.
maybe
And if
teach it or something.
any viewers lucid
Yes.
dream, please
Yes.
reach
Or if you want to learn it, you've wondered about it, you have questions about it. Yes. Email us, put it in the comments, something, because that could be an avenue for you, right?
it can
And
be, yeah,
we all, I loved what you said because there's even like in mediumship, in reader, in even card reader, whatever, even within those categories, there's so many different ways to express that.
right.
So many different ways. And so really that's, as you know, why we sort of let you unfold the way you are supposed to
Yeah.
unfold. None of us should ever be the same.
No. And if I do it differently, that's in TCS, that means I'm doing it the right way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So the weirder you're getting, the better. Like that's the path. There is no cookie cutter, standard to any of the paths that you can take psychically. I mean, there's so many, and there's ones we don't know
Absolutely.
that need to be found.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
And there are ones that we certainly well, you've already sort of experienced it, but you'll go down a path that you never even thought of or didn't know that that even existed or where the hell am I going or because we're all different and
right.
finding that path is so wonderful.
Yeah.
So, did you have um early so I know that you're kind of like most of us at TCS are a little bent toward the paranormal.
Hmm.
Did you have experiences when you were a kid with the paranormal?
Not really. Not that I can remember. I've always known there was an unseen world, unseen energies, unseen things just happening that I've just accepted. Um, not knowing and people not validating that. I didn't have a religious upbringing. For the most part, I kind of lived in nature, which I know I wasn't raised by wolves, but and that would have been fun. But I grew up on a tree farm. So I grew up on a
I
farm
did
where
not know that.
we grew trees and sold them. So, and
Well,
we lived miles away from other kids. I
yeah.
grew up climbing trees, being by myself in nature. I was a tomboy. I caught snakes. I found turtles.
Wow. This I
Uh,
did not know about you.
yeah. So not a whole lot of paranormal in
Yeah.
that way, but I was very much connected to Earth, and it felt
Yes.
connected to Earth in that sense.
So, as connected to Earth as you are, how much does that? 'Cause, I'm not going to tell you what I'm getting because but um, are you, how much is spirit taking you down that road of working more with the the earth elements at all?
Yes, I so far in my experience during meditations, during healings, there's a very heavy earth energy presence, creation,
Yeah.
just that raw, kind of just raw earth creation energy that tends to come forth. And a lot of my guides are animals. So
Yes. Now
a lot
that
of the
yeah.
meditations, yeah, I have an owl. I've had wolves come, birds all over the place, everywhere in my dreams, in the 3D, just animals everywhere. My cat doesn't stop.
I love
Uh,
your kid.
yeah,
Yes.
I had to put her in the basement so she didn't come up here. But
Because she'd be up around your neck. She likes
yeah,
to go
she'd
up
be
there.
sitting like just
Yeah.
purring. But yeah, animals very strong. Plants, I don't really have a green thumb,
Hmm.
but I'm very respectful of nature and love swimming in lakes and streams and
Just
yeah,
be part of it.
yeah. I'd
Yeah.
sit outside. Yeah, I love camping and not like glamping, but like, actual
Yeah.
camping.
I don't like any kind of camping at all. Um, no.
Yeah.
So, do you, has this spiritual journey, or how has it changed you? Or I know we're always changing, and I understand that, but are you sort of in the middle of something right now, changing, trying to grasp something? And how does that affect your marriage?
Ooh, there's like three different questions in there.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all
Pick
right.
anyone.
I'm gonna try. So for me, it has almost eliminated anxiety, being able to
Bravo.
control my energy, understand the negative or like just the energetic habits that I developed through the trauma and the childhood, getting those under control, understanding, I'm very empathetic. So I don't want to say
Yes.
empath, but man, like was I, you walked into a room and I know that you just had an argument with your boyfriend and I knew what happened when, people walked in and that's how I survived as a kid. I was able to navigate that, but as an adult, it would just I would just carry energy as baggage. I would feel feelings that were not mine, panic all the time. So now I don't even remember the last time I had an anxiety attack. So
You, and no
that had
wonder you liked nature so much because it was so peaceful and balanced and calming, right? That was
yeah,
must I'm sure was just a safe place for you to
Yeah.
be up in
Yeah.
a
And as an
tree.
adult, I mean, I even still I don't like large crowds. I don't do big events. I prefer, I have a couple of close friends. I'm not I'm just not a people person. But now I can prepare myself, prepare my energy. If there's something to go do, I don't just not go anymore. Now I can kind of
Good,
navigate.
good.
So
And you
that,
do beautifully one-on-one. Like that's really comfortable for you. I've seen you interact with other TCSers, with myself, and one-on-one, you're very comfortable and you can ask questions. And I'm sure that's part of that. When you're in a group, you can't do that. You can't focus and you can't get to know people. Like it's
no,
so
I'll go
certain
talk to
in a
the
group.
person in the corner. I'll go find the other quiet
Yes, yes,
person and go be quiet next to them, and we'll be quiet together.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I do genuinely, even though it probably sounds horrible, but I do genuinely have a good time
Mhm.
in those situations, just watching other people have fun, watching the
Sure.
entertainment, like I'm not having a good time. I
Mhm.
just am not I'm not in the spotlight, I'm not mingling, so it's still a good time.
You're not dancing on the table.
No, I, I don't drink really, so I'm not the life of the party, but I'm still having a good time being there in the
Yeah.
corner.
Yes, yes. So, how has the past few years walking this journey affected you and or affected your husband? Like your
Yeah.
relationship has your relationship changed?
Yes. And it's up and down. It was up and down. Now it's up. So it's a
Okay.
good
Well,
time.
in all marriage to begin with is,
Sure,
I mean,
sure. In general,
yes,
relationships,
yes,
friendships, anything really up and down. But before this, my anxiety played a huge role in
sure.
the relationship. There's just so many factors. I mean, he married me being this ball of
Yeah,
anxiety.
right, right.
He signed up for this ball of
Yeah.
anxiety. Um, but me being able to kind of bring myself back, it has really shown him
Mm,
what it's like to kind of face yourself.
yes.
Guys are
They
simpler.
do it very differently than they heal in a very different way.
Right. But he's so supportive
Mm,
that
yes.
throughout the ups and downs, he was just that rock that was consistent, that was there for me, that would listen. He might not be able to, he wasn't sitting there trying to tell me what to do or, so he gave me the room to
Nice.
do the work that I needed to do to get all of this out. And
That's
now,
beautiful.
we're able to go out with friends and have some more fun. And
Yay.
he doesn't have to sit there and worry about,
Yeah.
me the whole time. And so, in that aspect, it has been very positive, and it has also, in a sense, given him permission to start to do the same in his own way.
Beautiful.
And so, I mean, for me, it was difficult to understand how one person can be healing and one person not. So
Yes.
that, I mean, and I'm sure that's a natural transition. But when you start going down the healing and you're doing the work and you've dedicated and you're really one out of two people doing that, you start to wonder about your boundaries and you
Absolutely.
start questioning, okay, is this really are we still gonna match?
Yeah.
All of this stuff, right? And so that, we had some conversations around that,
Oh,
for
we
sure.
all have. Just FYI, you're not the it's being in a
Yeah.
relationship and doing this. Yeah, everyone has to shift.
And the way you look at even your friendships, and
Yes.
now you can see people who are just not aware of the
Yes.
healing journey. or how to start or are aware and then refuse to do it, right?
There's a lot of refusal out there.
You start to really, take, take
Mhm.
account of your relationships and what they mean and start putting those boundaries, those healthy boundaries
Yes.
in place. So yeah, I mean it shifts a lot, but luckily for my marriage,
Mhm.
it has it's been
And
mostly positive.
and please let me sort of put my like teacher hat back on, or my whatever is bravo to you for considering him in this journey, though. As you were shifting and healing, you were considerate of him. And I'm going to assume this. I know you should never assume, but I'm going to anyway. That you were honest with him during those shifts and you could talk about it. I mean, I don't know a lot about him, but what I know is that he'll sit and talk to you, and
Yeah.
that you guys could shift. And the same is the group, the TCS group that we have now, all have spouses, and we all have very supportive spouses. And we that was important to us to not let those to work with our, and so our spouse could come along with us. And I'm sure you could say how great it is. I mean, your relationship didn't get worse. It's now better than it's probably ever been.
Yes, I 100% agree. And even in the moments where it's in question, were very important learning moments for me on how to deal with that uncomfortable difference
Yes.
in paths and also how that is okay and needed.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and to have that conversation and to really just be like, look, this is what I need.
Mhm.
This is what I'm doing. It doesn't have to look like mine, but
Right.
for
And
me, I
that's important. That's probably one of the most important things. It doesn't have to look like mine.
no, I just wanted him to start putting himself first,
Yes.
whether that's with me or not.
Yes.
Like just do it for you, do it for our daughter, and then
Yes.
also do it for our marriage, because we all have trauma, we all have baggage.
Boy, howdy. Yeah.
It's time to grow up and do the last half of why
Yes.
we're here, you
Yes.
know? And it's weird to have that conversation if he hasn't yet tackled belief systems, gone through the basics. So, it's a weird, and I'm sure it was probably very confusing for him at times
Sure. But
on what to do. But the
and
patient,
credit goes to him for saying, I love this woman and I'm going to sit and I'm going to listen and I'm going to learn.
yeah,
Because when you don't do that, that's when things can really fall apart. So
yep,
when you're both committed to know this is what we want, you get through
yeah,
it, and it's life is so much better. I never knew that I could love my husband more today than before.
yeah, it's insane.
It is. It
I
really
would
is.
have thought my future self back when we like, no, I can't love him more than
Right. Yes.
I would have fought myself,
Right.
for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, somehow, it just gets bigger and better, and you then
Yes.
have a kid, and then it somehow grows even more. And
Yes. And so and I applaud you. There are, as we know, so many, the majority of people in this profession are single, in and out of relationships, relationship breakup. They're divorced, they can't keep somebody. It's just this, it's in my humble opinion, it's because they're not healing,
yeah,
and they're not taking the relationship into consideration as you
sure,
heal too. I mean, you have to be first. I mean,
yeah,
healing is I think you could put the word selfish on there a little bit, going through the healing process when we have
that's the
like,
point, right? Is you start, yeah, that's the point, is to become selfish,
yes.
to put yourself first.
At the same time, remember that you have a partner.
You have signed up for that, but
Yes.
it's not the same thing. You as an individual is not the same as you
No,
in a partnership.
no.
Those are two different things that require separate work. and one requires participation from the other, and the other one
Yes,
doesn't. So, but yes, I don't think you should put the partnership as priority until you've looked at yourself. There's no
yes.
point. You're
Right.
wasting
No.
you're
Mm-mm.
wasting time. So yeah.
Now you said a word and it sparked something for me. Work. Now you
Yeah,
have a regular day job.
I do.
How
Yeah.
has that changed, or has it become, as you're becoming more spiritual, more psychic, coming down this path, how has that affected your day-to-day work life?
Woo. Um, a lot. It's hard to put in. So my day job is ironically has a lot to do with technology
Yes, yes. Very
and
different than what
AI.
we do here.
Right. So and usually during the day I'm building AI experiences, which is like gonna be on the opposite side of spiritual and so but
Definite different side of your brain, for sure.
right. Yep. And that's really actually I think why I love it because
Yes.
I get to introduce both sides of the brain with this because yes, it is a lot of tech. However, it really pushes my creative side because I'm creating experiences for companies to use AI. And so each one is different. They're not all the same. I have to take into consideration what they need, what their problem, there's just so many variables. So it is very techy, but it's so creative that it really allows me to utilize that part of my brain, which is what I truly love and have a passion for creativity
Yes.
and art. So yeah, oddly enough,
And
I'm as
and to give credit, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I always interrupt. One of the things Marcy is helping TCS with is sort of coming into the techie a little more, like with our website. It's we've she's going to it's not her version of our website is not out yet, but
yeah.
she's working on it, and she's working on getting us more techie, and we
Yeah.
love it because we are not good at that. That is not my forte at all. um
No, but you guys have done beautifully. Trust me, I have seen some train wrecks of a website, and you guys have done beautifully. But
Thank
yes,
you.
very
But we
excited.
need help, and we have been praying for you for a long time to have someone come in that has that brain
Sure.
and wants to be part of us too.
Yeah,
That sort of can straddle that, and you do it beautifully.
thank
And
you.
yeah. Do
I'm
you
super
find
excited.
yourself ever getting bored at work? Like, oh, I really want to be communing with spirit right now, or
Yes.
yeah.
So I mean, I've incorporated more like grounding throughout work before I get on a meeting with a client or a
Oh,
team meeting, holding
that's
space.
helpful.
It can hold space as long as their higher selves allow it. I
Mhm.
do always try to hold space, especially if it's one-on-one. If it's a giant like group thing, no, I've tried that before. It didn't work out well. But it's good exercise energetically to, do a lot of grounding, holding space. The, you know, really the only parts of my job, again, is just because I'm the part of me. It's just the interaction with a lot of people. And, some of those people don't consider mental health or healing,
Yes,
as
and
a priority. And so, but like I've established my boundaries
good for you.
and now, starting that job, the reasons why I was happy working are a lot different than they are now. Before I was, you know, I'm so good at this. I'm making my boss happy. I'm making these people happy. I'm just so good. I'm so good at this, and it was for external validation.
Yes.
Now I know I'm good. I know my worth, I know my value. When the chatter comes at me, trying to threaten or manipulate me with, you're just not doing enough, and I'm just like, but I kind of am,
Yeah,
so
good for
so
you.
however, so that has definitely helped me shift to be more confident in the value that I provide, and be able to stand my ground and hold those boundaries. So I'm not taken advantage of or manipulated to make it feel like I'm not good enough or doing enough. Because some
Beautiful.
people think that that's motivation, and it's not.
Yes. Yeah. No, no. When you truly find spirit in that way that we are part of spirit and that it really changes. Is are there, let me think of how I want to ask this question. Um, what would you, if someone came to you and said, "Hey, I've seen you on the channel, or I've seen you whatever, or I heard you're psychic, or that you read cards or something. I really want to do that." What advice would you give that person?
Advice.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing, I mean,
Like if they asked you, "How do I do what you do?"
yeah,
or
no,
something like that.
yeah, I'm not gonna give them the answer that they're probably looking for, because it isn't. I'm just gonna ask them why they want to do it if they ask me, because that's what was asked of me, and that's what started the healing journey. Is why do you even want to heal people, and and all of that. How I do what I do, again, just comes down to healing, comparing myself with other healers. Or
Oof,
I have been asked, like,
bad news.
how do I find a good, how do I know if this Reiki person that I go to is good?
Yeah.
And it really just depends on who they are and their beliefs. Do they believe that healing themselves is a priority? If they
That's a
don't,
big one.
then more than likely, it's not like you're not getting anything, but it's just not going to be as high quality as, the person that is doing the work.
True
So,
that.
and again, what resonates, like, a lot of them are like, well, I went to a psychic, and they said all this, and I'm gonna meet my guy in 2 years, and he's gonna have a job in with trucks. I don't know, some of
Right,
the,
right, right.
um and
Yeah, what would you say to someone that did that? That, "Oh, I went to a psychic and she told me my guide's name is Joe and he looks like this, and this, and I'm gonna do this someday." What do you think, Marcy? What would you say to that person? That's not an easy thing when someone says that to
it's not, because I can't say that it won't happen.
you. Mhm.
Saying, I mean, that again, it is just as bad as someone who's telling them that it is going to happen. you know
True, true. Yes.
and if that's what they want to believe, that's totally fine. If that's what helps them get from A to B, just like most religions, I'm totally fine with that. If that's
Yep.
what the person needs, then great, no judgment.
Mhm.
However, it doesn't end there. And
Right.
for there's still going to be a lot of work on their part to listen to the new guide that they just, got told about, and to, like, those are the real, that's just a surface layer of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Don't rely on that, don't, because then it's not, and it's choice, free will. Like, if you don't want to meet that guy, or if you do meet that guy and you're like, nope, and then you go a different direction, there's no destiny. Like,
Right.
there's none of that. So it's up to them.
Does
But
it bother you when, because if you've been watching this channel, you know it's one of my things. I can get on a real soapbox about this one. Um, when you hear about healers, mediums, psychics, whatever, who are just unethical, like people, we, they're out there. I always say 85 to 90% of my beloved profession is unethical. They
Yeah.
don't necessarily know. There are some that do know it, and they're
That
total
was going to be
frauds.
my question. Do they know the ethics in general? Because I've had to deal with that sort of. Um, like growing up, it was very easy for me to remote view.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
It still is quite easy. I've learned to not go to that
We try
immediately.
to back her up just a little bit.
Back me up, and but I didn't know that.
No, you don't know what you don't know.
No. And why I was doing it
Mhm.
was just again more healing, more trauma. So once you figure out why you're doing that and you start to not, you just start to not rely on those things. Plus the ethics of it, once you know that it's bad, you tend to back off. Or if you don't, then
What do you tell people? Um, so if they say, "Oh, I heard you're spiritual or something," or however that you would get onto that subject,
mhm,
and they ask you, "Well, what do you do?" Okay, what do you do at TCS? Who are like it? It's a hard label.
it is.
But do you have verbiage for that, for what you do? I mean, you can say what you do during the day. You got that down pat. That's a total 3D workspace. You got it.
Yep.
How would you describe that in what you do at TCS? That's a
I
big question.
I honestly I tend to try to avoid the word psychic
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
as long as possible.
Yes, yes.
If they straight up ask me, then of course I'm not going to deny it. But I usually, I usually tend to lean more towards energy healing,
Okay. Mhm.
metaphysical healing, and just more about energy, reading energy, the flow of energy, healing, and that kind of thing. And then they usually kind of be like, oh, like usually that and psychic don't end up
Right.
heads, right? Like if I
Yes.
said, "Oh, I'm psychic," then they just kind of pigeonholed me into like something,
Whatever their belief of that is, right?
right? Which usually doesn't involve energy healing. If I say energy healing, they're like, "Oh, you do Reiki." And then it's just like, okay, no, right? And then we do a little bit more than that. It's more than just the energy body. There's an emotional body. Like it's more education than telling
Yes.
them what I do because
Right.
it's just not as known as most of the 3D jobs.
And then, so you stay with the word psychic, which I get.
Yeah.
Is that because every people have a preconceived notion of what that is, and that's either good, bad, or I mean, people have some crazy thoughts of what psychic is. But is that why it just like you
Yeah.
just stay away from it because it's just
In my experience, it mostly has a negative. Like they think, scammer,
yes, yep,
um,
yep, and I can't
or
blame them.
no, I don't blame him, and
Right.
that's why I tend to
Yeah,
avoid
yeah,
beginning, if they, it is under the umbrella of psychic, so it's not untrue. But to just start with that, they immediately think, trying to tell the future,
yes.
that,
Or somehow you know everything. Like
somehow,
something bad happens in your life that, well, you were psychic. Shouldn't you have known that was going to happen? It's like, oh dear God. You
yeah.
don't know what a psychic is. People really truly
No.
don't understand what it is to be psychic.
And if they do lean in that direction and they start to
Or
more so poke fun of it, like then I just know that they're not gonna be someone who's gonna be on board with what
right.
I do,
Or have you
and that's fine.
or they have an idea and they like psychics and they think that you're a
Yeah,
particular way.
yeah.
That
And
could
then I
happen
get to
too.
hear all about their last reading, or
Right?
I'll get to hear, oh, I just went to a medium, and then
Just
here's
don't
all
care.
of that, which is, I mean, I think is great. I think I mean, I'm not sitting there like on the edge of my seat,
Right.
but I do entertain that conversation because I do want to promote the openness, the safe
For
space.
you.
Like, yes, like that. And they're like, this message was perfect. And I'm like, yes, like this isn't like this person isn't one out of a million.
Right.
We all can get to
We can all
mess
get it right once in a while.
right. Like that's just like, yes, like this isn't something that should be newsworthy.
Right, right, right.
And kind of bring it down a little bit. Like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like they seem like they really gave you some good messaging, and then just kind of make it very natural that
Yes.
it happened for them.
Do you believe that psychics can tell the future?
I think that there are some psychics that can tell a future.
Oh, good answer. Some
There
people are
is
bent
no,
more that way than others, but
yeah, but
um,
there's no the
truly,
future.
right.
There's so many variations and there's free will,
Yeah.
too many variables, there's timelines, there's dimensions, there's,
Yeah.
I mean, are they connecting with future energy and able to say what's happening? Sure, I believe that 100%. It doesn't mean that it's happening for you in this lifetime, in this version of you no, they're like it's like a needle in a haystack that they're
Absolutely.
tell you your future in this lifetime
Yes.
and that you're not going to do something to ruin it 5 seconds later. So,
Right.
yeah, I don't think that that actually helps, those types of predicting. Like if you're getting predictions, I've never had that. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to speak on behalf of psychics who do receive
Right.
like, collective future
Sure.
information, right? Like if you're getting these downloads, what do you do with it? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
And then we do hear like, oh, they predicted this, but what about the hundred that they predicted that didn't come true?
sure.
And it's just that's part of future.
And they could have come true. They're just not here.
That's
And
true.
you know what I'm saying? We
Very
we
true. Hmm.
we can't validate that. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't know what the end game is for future predictions. Have we ever been able to prevent something? That would be nice. Not
You're
after.
right. I don't think so. Like in movies, you always see they're going to go into the future or to the past, whatever, when that decision was made and change. We can't do that. Not,
No,
no. So,
but like letting, yeah, after the fact, it's like, hindsight.
right. What would you, I have so many questions running through my head. Sorry. What would you say to someone who says, well, why would I go to a healer? What's the benefit for me? So, Marcy, this is what you do, and I truly want to understand.
Yeah.
What would be a reason for me to go to what would be a reason for me to come to you or to an energy healer?
Whew.
That big question, I know.
It is a big question. I mean, just that question by itself, for me, there's a lot of doubt, underlying doubt, right?
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, I wouldn't tell anyone to go to an energy healer that doesn't believe, because then there's no permission granted, nothing will
Very
happen,
true.
right?
So first of all, you have to believe that it's going to what, help you?
Have some sort of effect, whether having something help you is going to be subjective because it could bring up a lot of really dark emotions and they'll be like, well, that just ruined my day.
Right.
Like, no, it actually did bring to light something you need to face, which in the end is something you should be grateful for or can be grateful for. So, but yeah, why should is really just to bring to light what you need to work on for next steps just to move forward, to as like cleansing your 3D body just for health purposes, keeping the energy flow, making sure there's no blockages because that could translate to physical symptoms. So just yeah, just from a base health perspective, it's good to tackle all of your bodies. But if they don't believe it, then
Then
there's
it's not
not
gonna,
much
yeah.
anyway. So yeah.
Good answer.
I'm just imagining these people coming at me with these questions.
And they will. Eventually people will ask you.
Yeah, no, I welcome that. That's great. Hopefully it's helping some viewers.
Yes, I hope
Yeah,
so too.
yeah,
Is is there, I want to ask about challenges
sure.
and like spiritual challenges. How have you re so we have lessons which often come through challenges, right? Um, when you, oof, okay, again, with me putting the words together to ask the question the way I want to
See,
ask it.
that's what I'm saying. You have to say it out loud, and then you
Yes, you have to
know
put,
what you gotta
yes,
say.
you have to
Yeah.
like work it out with your words. Yes, I'm a huge one with that.
Mhm.
Um, what has been, and maybe I asked this already, the most challenging piece of not the he, well, I guess it could be the same. The most challenging, no, that's not where I want to go. Okay.
I mean, I kind of have an answer for a
Okay,
question.
go. Yes. Go.
The most challenging part overall of the journey
Yes.
is just being honest with yourself. That is, as soon as you're able to brutally be
Ooh,
honest with
yes.
yourself and then not judge yourself immediately. Like you're gonna judge yourself, you're gonna feel maybe a little bit of shame, a little bit of disgust, like what kind of person does that or thinks that? Okay, did that, got that out of the way. Now, now let's work on how I want to be different or that kind of
Yes.
thing. But that initial honesty with yourself and why you did what you did, why you said what you said, why you're not doing what you're doing, all of that stuff, like that's still the biggest challenge for me is just be honest. Like just be
So
honest with yourself.
is that the, for you, the challenge of the human piece of it? Or how would you say the human piece has changed for you? Like the way you look at being human now, and you're
Okay.
a mom,
Yeah.
and how is that, it,
The entire purpose of existence in general has changed.
good, okay. You
Yeah.
understood that my blah blah blah
I
that I
know,
couldn't quite get out. You speak down,
I'm
yes.
just trying to think of how I can explain, before the journey, just to me, it's just like from looking down up, where it's just like, okay, there's always something I gotta do. I'm not doing it right. There's always something I'm trying to obtain. There's always some, you're always like trying to look up and reach outside of yourself. Whereas after, during and then after a lot of work, it's more so looking down at life and what you have. And it's like understanding the rules of the game. Like you just
Yes, yes.
you know that I'm an indestructible being. This 3D part of me is not the biggest part of me.
Mm, hmm.
We have a huge,
Yes.
we're more spiritual than we are human.
Oh, amen.
Uh, this experience was designed on purpose to teach me these lessons. And I've done this 100 times before, and I'll do it 100 times again. And it just all the pieces kind of fit together. Okay, this is why I'm here. Now I can start playing the game, right?
Yes,
Now I can start doing the work. I understand who I am, what I am,
yes.
why this life is happening, why everyone else's lives are happening around me. And it's just so much, it's the pressure is lifted on trying to find that, so
So
yeah.
would you say that finding your spiritual self has made being human easier?
So much easier.
I
And
agree.
and yes, I don't like finding, but
That's
more
okay.
so realizing
Okay.
and just or remembering. A lot of people say like remember,
Yep.
you start to remember who you are.
Hmm. True.
Once all of that has resonated, like, okay, I mean, in my head, I see, you want to say soul, like you can just picture a ball, but my human existence is just in that center, the center of the ball, right? Like I am focused on creating this experience and this is me, but I am also the entire ball, so
Yes.
like
Yes.
it's not just this little being, you know, waking up every day is actually everything's a paradox, right? So waking up every day is really my soul dreaming. And when I dream, it's really
I
my soul.
love that. Great way to put that. Yeah.
Yeah, everything gets reversed, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, and it makes things when you do something, what I would say in quote, kind of stupid, or oh crap, I fucked that up, or I whatever. It's easier to look at yourself as that spiritual being. You're having this experience here, and those things are supposed to happen.
Yep, it
And
was feel
yeah,
it,
right.
behave
Like
for
help take you
intention.
not so seriously. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't have to take myself so seriously. I
Oh
don't,
yeah.
yeah.
Life is just not as serious. And that's why I don't think I'm gonna get down to the lowest low I have been before because
Yes.
it's just not that serious.
Yeah,
It's just
right, right,
it really isn't. And if I had followed through with anything, like it doesn't negate that the whole point, the whole purpose
right.
of this, right?
Yes.
Um, so it isn't an escape in that, that sense. So yeah, I mean, it has changed being human entirely. Uh,
In a
I don't,
beautiful.
I don't like, I tend to not yell at my spirit self for choosing, this life and this planet and,
I
like,
have before. I have. I haven't in a long time, but I have.
but I mean, knowing who I am, it makes sense that I picked a hard road
Yeah,
and a hard place to be in to learn lessons.
absolutely.
Again, it's a theme with my life. I have to find my own path, and
Yep.
you know,
And I'm so grateful that you are part of TCS.
and I have to get used to having more people now. Like that's
Yes,
a challenge for
yes, you
me.
are in a group, by the way.
I have a group of people that are just amazing, and I have to sort of start to let myself relax a little bit and lean
And
outside
be
because
part of it.
it isn't supposed to be a journey I do on my own. And without
Yeah,
you, it wouldn't have been. So,
thank you. Thank you. Well, we're very blessed to have you. I have one more question and then we can wrap this up.
yeah. Oh, that's it, man.
Gee. Trying to stay in the hour
Oh,
range,
yeah, that's true. You should.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh yeah, I could go on because I'm a chatty
All
Cathy.
day.
But
Yep. Mhm.
so what is your or do you have a current goal with your, I'm going to put it in development and maybe it's spiritual, but do you have a development goal? Because I am the development teacher most of the time. Do you have a goal
Yeah.
like where do you have one that you're headed toward or
So currently, and I haven't shared this
Yay, I'm writing it down. Okay, got my pen and paper.
with you or
Ready.
the group or anything, just because again, it ties to the lucid dreaming, which
Mm-hmm.
if viewers don't know what that is, please let me know. I'd be happy to try to explain it.
Oh, I
But
don't do it. It sounds amazing.
it is amazing. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's amazing. But when I am lucid now,
Mm-hmm.
my goal and what I've been doing is having my guidance come into, like, basically just kind of present themselves. And what has been happening, because their vibration is so high,
Yes.
that a lot of the times, at least in the beginning, I would immediately be taken out of the lucid state and wake up. And
Uh,
for anyone who has been lucid or tried to practice being lucid, any like sort of high emotion or anything like that that you can't really
like you
stabilize,
vibrate out of it.
it takes you right out, right? So really like stabilizing your area, I don't know how you call that, is like key to staying in the lucid space. So I've been trying to attune my lucid self to the vibration of guidance so that I can eventually commune and be able to receive messaging and interact with guidance on a more consistent base. And this last time I called them in, I was had to back up a bit, but it's getting easier and easier.
Good.
So I feel like I'm on a path where I'm like, okay, I have a goal, right? Is to just be able to be present with guidance in this space. It's a lot, it's a very high vibration, but I think I'm getting closer and closer to
Nice.
being able to do that. And once I can withstand that vibration, I should be able to communicate
That's
freely.
awesome. And
Yeah.
then see what spirit has for you. Where you're doing this for a reason. I mean, there is a spiritual,
I
absolutely
think
spiritual
so.
piece to this.
They're not going to
You're
tell me
not
what
given
that
that
is.
gift for just no reason. You really,
Right,
yeah.
and yeah, and that's gonna be one of my questions that they don't answer, right? Is what,
Right.
but yeah, I feel very excited to find out if I can get there. So there's gotta be
You mean you're excited to get there?
I'm excited to get there.
There you go. Yes.
And then they can't get away from me, right? This
Right,
is
right. Don't chase them down. Hey, wait, excuse me.
in my world now, and you
That's
have to
right. This is Marcy's world.
see again the whole control thing. It's my life, so.
Yeah, well, we all have that thing. We do. All
Mhm.
right. Thank you. This was really fun. I
Yeah.
appreciate putting you in the hot seat.
I know everyone's been waiting.
And
Get
I
back
got to do
on.
it. Yay. Yes. So
Thank you.
thank you. And I'm honored that I was the one that got to do this because this has really been
Great.
fun. And we'll let you go back to the other side and be the
Yes.
interviewer.
Mhm.
And thank you.
Yes, thank
So,
you. Thank
thank
you
you.
everyone for listening.
Yes, yes. Thanks for tuning in. And the next time an interview comes out, it will be Marcy in control and interviewing someone else. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Marcy.
Bye. Thank you, Pam.
Bye.